Today we're going to learn how to solder silver. Hi everyone, I'm C from CBJ Studio Diaries. I have to admit, I should have shown you how to do this skill way back. If you have watched my last video and successfully tackled the gold-filled soldering, I would like to congratulate you. Well, to be fair, learning soldering is not easy. However, it is very important for a metalsmith to be able to solder properly. It requires precision, patience, but don't worry, you can start building up your confidence by soldering small pieces before attacking the big ones. So today we're going to make these Huggie hoop earrings in argentium silver. We can talk about the difference between argentium and sterling silver later in the other video, but today we're going to just focus on how to really make these Huggie hoops. I would like to show you the step-by-step process here in the bench before really working on the project. Hello, I'm at the bench right now. I'm also putting on my poncho because it's super cold in here. It's 9 degrees outside. Can you believe 9 degrees in June? And it's windy too. Okay, well, today we're going to make, like us that I explained to you earlier, that this is the earrings that we're going to make in argentium silver. It looks complicated, but it's actually very easy to make. I'm gonna put this on to show you how it looks like when it's worn. It's very pretty, elegant. Um, it's made out of this wire, which is 16 gauge. The length of this wire is 7 centimeter. Okay, so what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to explain to you the process before actually doing it on the bench. That way you kind of get the summary before we dive deep on the process. Now we have, like I said, 16 gauge, and we're going to have 1 centimeter at length of the 20 gauge wire. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach it like this, okay, using solder. And then for this part, I'm going to just like fork it into a round shape using the mandrel. This is the mandrel that I'm going to mount on the bench. And we have a texture here. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. A little bit of a texture. So I'm going to show you how to add a texture without ruining the wire. Okay, well that's about it. Now let's really get to work. Now I'm prepping this wire by applying the borax paste. This will serve as a barrier to avoid the silver to be burnt. The two edges of these wires have been smoothed off with a sandpaper, and the pin that is used for the stud has also been sanded flat on one side so it can adhere correctly when it's soldered to the thicker wire. Now I'm marking the point where I want to attach the stud pin on, somewhere around 1 to 2 millimeter below the edge. Now right now I'm setting it up on the solder block. I don't have a steady hand, so this metal weight in the third hand is my solder setup. The pin stud I was talking about is going to be mounted on the third hand, positioned perpendicular with the sanded side touching the pink mark on the thicker wire we did earlier. Do you notice that I tapped the third hand? This is to apply some pressure to the stud towards the thicker wire, because sometimes when it's just touching, with the fire and borax bubbling, the stud can very easily displaced. Here I'm cutting the solder chip. The solder that I'm using is the hard solder, which consists 84.5%.
of silver. Okay, everything is checked. I'm ready to fire. Right now, I'm actually heating up the whole piece of the silver. You will see that the borax starts to bubble around the wire. This is a good thing. That means that it creates barrier around the silver to avoid fire stain. Since I'm using the solder chip, what I do is I put the chip on the solder block, heat it up until it changes shape into a ball, then I pick up with the titanium wick and apply it where I want it to be soldered. Yes, it demands a stability at the beginning, it might be hard. This is why I prefer to hold the torch in my left hand so I can use my right hand for detail work. It takes practice for sure. And I also don't point the fire 100% of the time because silver is very easy to melt. I think around 960 degrees Celsius. While we're here, I'm going to make a new batch of pickle solution. The old one had turned green and not so effective to stripping off the fire stains. So, like I mentioned in my other video, I only use citric acid for pickling my metal, in this case silver and gold filled. I'm taking 3 tablespoons of citric acid and I mix it with 150 milliliters of warm water and I will just stir it.
Okay, now I'm done with the necklace. So now back to the bench and the hoops. As you can see, this new, super brand new citric acid has cleared up a lot of the fire stain. I'm so happy. I should have done this a long time ago, but since I'm lazy, so ta-da, so beautiful, super beautiful. And the solder has been very successful. See? Okay, now it's time for us to do the next step, which is the forging of the wire. Let's go!
Here I start forking the wire into hoops by taking the other end and using ring pliers. I bend it into circle for as far as I can. I should have forked the wire before attaching the stud actually, but oh well, it happened. So what happened is instead of soldering it perpendicularly, I should have soldered wire in 90 degrees less, which is 60 degrees. Okay, but since they're easy to bend, I guess it's not that grave of a problem. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm fixing it with the parallel pliers. Once I have the shape I like, then I'm mounting my mandrel on my bench and hammer the front side using rawhide mallet to harden it. The next step is using the shiny hammer to give it a texture. If you notice, I try to hit it on the same place to give it more of a facet uniform texture rather than just hammering it without direction. And then there's this straight side of the hoops that I also need to give it a texture, so I'm using the anvil for the support and start hammering the same way. between the work, I fine-tune the shape in order to make sure that I don't warp the wire too much to the side from the repeating hammering. I also make sure that the hoop is really flat. Hammer it flat on the anvil will help to get the result. There seems to be a problem here. It seems to me like I don't cut the wire correctly, so this makes one of the hoops be bigger. I'm just going to make an easy decision by cutting the difference and call it a day. When I cut it, I also smoothen the edge that is not shown here in the video. Here I'm smoothing the overall solder leftover and shave off the stud for comfort wear. And finally, twist the stud to harden the wire. This is the fastest and the simplest solution. And the last step is to polish them with Fabulaster, my favorite compound. For you who live in Europe, you can get it on Etsy. This is where I get mine, I think. There's also another supplier in UK, but I'm not sure where he is right now. It's for sure it's more expensive than the US client, of course. But what can I say, you guys? Here in Europe, everything is way more expensive. Back to work. I don't have any tips specifically for polishing, except for just to make sure to cover all the sides of the metal. And for the polishing bits, I'm using the cotton wheels from Dremel. Once it is well polished, I wash the earrings with the ultrasonic cleaner. If you don't have it, then you can use the old toothbrush and soap. It works very well. Alright guys, I'm done. This pair is ready to ship. I'm so glad for this result. The organic shape, it's also perfectly flat, and the facet of the hammer texture is beautiful and subtle.
That's it, you guys. I would like to know, what do you think? And have you been trying to solder silver? And is this tutorial helpful for you? If you have any idea, I would love to receive it. Please leave me a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like and subscribe. If you have any question, again, don't hesitate to ask me. And until next time, goodbye. So now, while we're waiting for the silver to be pickled, I'm going to cut this necklace into 31 centimeter length. You're going to ask me what for, because the choker at minimum is like this. It's probably 37 centimeter at length, but I'm going to make one for my daughter, who is going to perform for her musical performance tonight, and the topic is 70s, 60s, 70s, and she wanted to wear this as a choker. It's gonna look cute, I think.